On the morning of February 20th, 2024, police in Sydney received a routine welfare check request. A woman hadn't been able to reach her son since the night before. Her calls were going unanswered. What officers found when they arrived would set off one of the most disturbing murder investigations in recent Australian history. A case involving 2 crime scenes, 3 victims from the same family, and a man that the community had trusted completely with their children. This is the story of the Master Lion case. Stephen Cho's mother had been trying to reach her son and his family since Monday night. Her calls went unanswered. At 10:15 a.m., officers arrived at a townhouse on Watkins Road, in the Australian suburb of Baulkham Hills. Inside, they found Stephen Cho, 39 years old, dead in his kitchen. He'd been stabbed multiple times, with wounds to his head, neck, and chest. The blood spatter on the walls told the story of a violent struggle. His wife, Min Cho, and a 7-year-old son were missing. Police tracked Min Cho's phone, and it led them to Lions Taekwondo and Martial Arts Academy in North Parramatta, 5 kilometers away. When officers arrived at the property just after noon, they noticed blood on the concrete steps outside. Inside the studio, they discovered the bodies of Min Cho, 41, and her son. Both mother and child had been strangled. New South Wales Fire and Rescue draped plastic over the large windows to prevent the public from seeing the scene inside. The connection between the crime scenes came together quickly. The night before, at 11:50 p.m., a man had walked into Westmead Hospital with serious injuries, knife wounds to his chest, arms, and stomach. One of the stab wounds had led to a collapsed lung. He told medical staff he'd been attacked by 3 men in the parking lot of a North Parramatta Woolworths. That man was Kwang Yong-yu, 51 years old, the owner of Lions Taekwondo, the instructor that young students called Master Lion. Police checked his story. CCTV footage showed no attack at any parking lot, but it did show Yu driving the victim's white BMW X5 to the hospital. They arrested him while he was still in his hospital bed. When police searched the BMW, they found traces of blood inside, along with documents relating to a multi-million-dollar property sale in the Oceanside area of Mosman, and a fake master's degree certificate from Sydney University bearing Yu's name. At the Baulkham Hills townhouse, neighbors watched as Stephen's mother arrived. Police had to deliver the tragic news. She was told her entire family was wiped out, a neighbor said. Early in the investigation, detectives reportedly considered a possible love triangle between Stephen Cho, Min Cho, and Yu. But as evidence emerged, a different narrative took shape, one rooted in envy, delusion, and lies. Stephen Cho had done everything right. He had immigrated to Australia from South Korea, along with his wife, his son, and his parents. Like so many immigrant families, they came in search of stability, opportunity, and a future for their children. And Stephen found it. He worked as a middle manager at Richard Crooks Construction, a company headquartered in Artarmon, northeast of Sydney. His colleagues called him a machine, not because he was cold, but because of his relentless work ethic. He was highly regarded at the company. He was building a new life, brick by brick. Min focused on their son. There were some reports she may have also run a small business of her own, but her primary focus was her boy, a bright, energetic second grader at a local elementary school. She had enrolled him in Taekwondo classes, believing that martial arts would teach discipline, build his confidence, and instill respect. Lions Taekwondo had a stellar reputation and had been recommended by other parents she knew. Min drove her son there twice a week. Sometimes she stayed to watch his classes. She trusted Master Lion completely. Their son took his training seriously. He showed up in his uniform, practiced his forms, and worked toward his next belt. He showed Master Lion the same respect that all the other students showed. Stephen Cho's family lived in a quiet, comfortable neighborhood and drove a white BMW X5. Nothing flashy, but a symbol of what they'd achieved through years of honest work. Kwang Kyung-yu was 51 years old. He had also immigrated from South Korea as a young man, arriving in Australia with his family. But unlike Stephen Cho, Yu had never quite found his footing. He had no education beyond high school. Before opening his Taekwondo studio, he jumped between a series of wildly different jobs: tiler's apprentice, supermarket assistant, restaurant worker. He had even spent time working as a stunt performer, but nothing seemed to stick. At one point, he had worked as an assistant instructor at another Taekwondo school. According to reports, he caused many incidents and accidents that embarrassed the director. And that same director had introduced Yu to his future wife, a decision he reportedly came to deeply regret. In 2018, Yu opened Lions Taekwondo and Martial Arts Academy in North Parramatta. The location was strategic, just 80 meters from St. Monica's primary school. Yu would pick students up from after-school care and walk them to his studio. Parents loved the convenience. So for a while, the business thrived. The programs were so well regarded that they were referenced in materials from nearby schools and local government. At its peak, hundreds of students trained there. Yu even employed local instructors to help manage the demand. Reviews even praised Master Lion as fantastic with kids, and someone who genuinely cares about his craft. But despite the great reviews, by early 2024, the business was failing. Student numbers had dropped, Yu was behind on rent, and owed tens of thousands of dollars. He was in trouble. Yu had a wife and 2 children of his own. One of his sons was around the same age as the Cho boy. The family lived in a rental property in the suburbs and drove a practical but unremarkable car. So this was his reality, but Kwang Kyung-yu didn't want to accept this reality. To anyone who would listen, Yu told different stories about his life. He said he had met Gina Reinhardt, Australia's wealthiest person. He claimed he had qualified for the 2000 Sydney Olympics in Taekwondo. He said he owned a Lamborghini and lived in Sydney's exclusive eastern suburbs with views of the Harbour Bridge. And of course, none of it was true. Australian Taekwondo had no record of him competing at any elite level. He didn't own a Lamborghini. He drove a Toyota Camry. He didn't live in the eastern suburbs. He rented in North Kellyville. He told people he'd earned a master's degree and a PhD in exercise science from Macquarie University and the University of Sydney. And both institutions confirmed they had no record of his enrollment. He sometimes introduced himself as Professor Yu. He claimed to vacation regularly in New York and California. He said he worked as a consultant for multiple organizations, and none of them had ever hired him. Police discovered he would go as far as to inspect expensive properties in Sydney's eastern suburbs, telling real estate agents that he was representing wealthy employers or his parents. And he claimed to have a budget of up to $50 million. Yu would also lie to his wife about the people that he knew. To maintain this illusion that he was an impressive person, he composed fake emails to himself and signed them using the names of important people. He then showed these messages to his wife as a proof of his connections. He showed one student's mother a photograph of the Sydney Harbour Bridge with a Lamborghini in the foreground. He told her it was the view from his home and his car. When people questioned inconsistencies in his stories, Yu had an excuse at the ready. He blamed everything on his twin brother, Eugene. There is no evidence that this brother exists. Forensic psychiatrist Andrew Ellis would later testify in court, saying that Yu had grandiose fantasies of being richer and more successful than he actually was. He described these actions as an immature way of managing one's self-image. Yu explained to his psychiatrist after his arrest that the lies had started as a way to make his wife happy. They began as small exaggerations to make her proud, but each lie required another lie to support it. The fantasy grew, and Yu became trapped inside the house of cards he had built, terrified of what would happen when it collapsed. Stephen Cho represented everything Hwang Kyung-yu pretended to be. The stable career, the respected position, the comfortable home, the nice car. Stephen had earned it through years of honest work, the kind of genuine success you could only dream of. And Yu began considering murder after watching Stephen become successful and wealthy. He started to think about how he could kill the family and take their money. Yu saw their success up close. Twice a week when Min brought her son to class, he saw the white BMW X5 in the parking lot. He chatted with Min during drop-offs and pickups. He watched her son practice forms and earn new belts. But there was a more immediate trigger. In January 2024, just weeks before the murders, Yu told his wife that he would soon be getting a company car. And not just any car, BMW. He taught martial arts classes part-time at a primary school and claimed the school would be providing it. Another lie. But this one came with a deadline. At some point, his wife would expect to see the car. Then, on the evening of February 19th, Min-cho drove to the studio in her white BMW X5, the exact model Yu had promised his wife. And something crystallized. If he took that car, he could turn at least one of his lies into reality. He could drive home in a BMW and prove to his wife that his story was true. In the 11 days before February 19th, CCTV cameras captured footage of Yu driving past the Cho family's Balgham Hills townhouse on 5 occasions. He was studying the neighborhood, learning Stephen's schedule, and planning. And the day came, February 19th, 2024. It was a Monday. The day began like any other at Lions Taekwondo. That afternoon, around 4 p.m., the studio held a ceremony to present new belts to the students who had leveled up. After the ceremony, classes continued as scheduled. The studio hummed with activity. By 6 p.m., most of the other parents and students had left, but Min-cho remained with her son. At approximately 6:22 p.m., Hwang Kyung-yu led Min into a storeroom at the back of the studio. The CCTV cameras inside the studio recorded everything. Yu made no attempt to hide from them. He strangled her, and when she was dead, he dragged her body into the office. Then he did something almost incomprehensible. He taught a Taekwondo class. More students arrived with their parents for the evening session. Children practiced their kicks and forms, and parents chatted in the waiting area. None of them knew that a woman's body lay meters away, hidden in the back office. Min's 7-year-old boy was still in the building. He may have been told his mother had stepped out. We don't know exactly what Yu told him. But the boy trusted Master Lion. He had no reason to fear his teacher. The class ended at around 8 p.m. Parents collected their children and headed home. The studio emptied. Then Yu called the boy into the storeroom, the same room where his mother had been killed. And Yu proceeded to strangle him to death. The CCTV footage then shows Yu moving through the studio with purpose. He took Min's car keys. He took her Apple Watch. Then he called his wife. "The car has arrived," he told her. At 8:48 p.m., Hwang Kyung-yu drove Min's white BMW X5 out of the parking lot and headed toward Balgham Hills to finish his grisly mission. The drive to Balcombe Hills took about 10 minutes. Yu had studied the route. He knew the neighborhood. When Yu arrived at the Watkins Road townhouse, Stephen wasn't home yet. Yu broke in and waited in the darkness. At 9:18 p.m., Stephen Cho returned from work. He walked into his home expecting to find his wife and son. Instead, he found Kwang Gyung-yu. Yu attacked him with a knife and a pair of scissors, stabbing Stephen in the head, the neck, the chest. But Stephen Cho didn't go down easily. He fought back. In a desperate struggle, Stephen managed to grab a weapon and stab his attacker repeatedly. Blood spatter analysis would later show investigators the intensity of the confrontation. Stephen inflicted serious wounds on Yu, deep lacerations to his chest, arms, and stomach. One wound punctured Yu's lung. It's worth noting that Yu was a certified 4th-degree Taekwondo expert, and the fact that Stephen, an ordinary office worker, managed to wound him so severely speaks to how desperately he fought for his life. But it wasn't enough. Stephen's injuries were too severe. The wounds to his head and neck were fatal. Stephen Cho died in his own kitchen, fighting until the very end. Neighbors at the townhouse complex later told reporters that they hadn't heard anything. They described the violence as shocking. Yu had killed Stephen, but he didn't leave right away. He went into the primary bathroom. He showered, he changed into Stephen's clothes, and then he left the house. He drove Min's BMW to Westmead Hospital, arriving at 11:50 p.m. He walked into the emergency department, bleeding, and told the staff his story about 3 men attacking him. And hospital staff treated his injuries, the punctured lung, the deep lacerations. Police were called as a formality, something that is done for any serious assault. And Yu stuck to his story. He never mentioned the Cho family. He never asked about the 3 people he had killed that night. He was focused entirely on his own survival and maintaining his final lie. The next morning, Stephen's mother called the police and the 3 bodies were found. Investigators soon connected the dots to Yu and his visit to Westmead Hospital. His parking lot story collapsed under scrutiny. CCTV footage showed no attack, but it did show Yu driving the victim's BMW. That afternoon, around 2:54 p.m., someone from the academy sent a text message to students and parents. Due to injuries resulting from a car accident this morning, Master is currently in the hospital. The studio would be closed. The lie continued even as police tapes surrounded the building. On February 29th, Yu's business registration was canceled. On March 5th, 2024, a funeral was held for the Cho family. Relatives traveled from Korea to Australia as soon as they could after hearing the news. Stephen's parents attended, burying their son, their daughter-in-law, and their grandson all at once. After his arrest, Yu was evaluated by forensic psychiatrists. They found a man whose desperate need to appear successful had consumed him. During the evaluation, Yu explained his twisted logic, saying, "You've been living your life as a good person for long enough. You can be a bad person and give your family whatever they want." He had convinced himself that his conscience was the problem, that being good was what prevented him from providing for his wife and children. That if he just crossed the line, just once, he could finally deliver on all his promises. But when police asked how he'd actually planned to access the Cho family's money, Yu had no coherent answer. He couldn't explain how stealing a car and killing 3 people would improve his financial situation. He had made no plans beyond taking the BMW. The murders were driven by envy and delusion, not rational calculation. After his arrest, Yu told prison authorities, "I was good 2 months ago. Now I'm a murderer. I feel shame, guilt, and sorrow." Yu may consider this to have been a 2-month process, but in reality, he had started on this path years ago when his lies began. He had countless opportunities to change course, But he didn't. In just one day, he changed from a local Taekwondo instructor into a triple murderer. The psychiatrists found no evidence of psychosis, no delusions severe enough to impair his understanding of right and wrong. Yu knew exactly what he was doing. He simply convinced himself it was justified. Justice Harrison noted that Yu had carried unrealistic expectations since childhood, pressure from his parents, and Korean cultural expectations to achieve a level of success he never reached. That pressure is common in immigrant families. You leave your home country, you sacrifice everything, and you need to prove it was worth it. For some, that weight becomes unbearable. Yu told psychiatrists he felt trapped by his own lies, terrified of disappointing his wife and losing face. Instead of asking for help, he kept digging himself in deeper. In Korean communities, like in many cultures, admitting you're struggling can feel like admitting you failed. So people stay silent until it's too late. But despite the pressure that Yu faced, none of it excused what he did. Plenty of people face the same pressures and don't commit murder. Yu's actions shattered trust in the local community. He had no criminal record. Background checks showed nothing. Parents let him walk their children from school to their Taekwondo classes. When someone like that turns out to be a killer, what are you supposed to do? How do you trust anyone after that? On May 29, 2025, Kwang Kyung-yu pleaded guilty to 3 counts of murder. Appearing via video link from prison, he admitted to the killings without contest. The evidence against him was overwhelming. CCTV footage captured both strangulations, along with clear signs of premeditation and deception. At his sentencing in November 2025, the Cho family's victim impact statements were read in court. Min's parents, who had flown in from Korea, described a life destroyed by grief. Her brother spoke of losing his only sister and watching their mother collapse under the weight of her sorrow. Supporters filled the public gallery wearing crocheted flowers in solidarity. Yu sat with his head bowed, holding a Bible filled with handwritten notes. In a letter to the judge, he expressed regret and claimed he had turned to religion after the crimes. His lawyer argued against a life sentence and requested the possibility of parole, disputing claims that Yu was driven by jealousy or hatred. Under New South Wales law, murder carries a maximum penalty of life imprisonment. On December 16, 2025, Justice Ian Harrison delivered the sentence: life in prison, no parole. The judge described Yu's actions as horrific and violent acts, senselessly cruel and cynical, perpetrated without a trace of human compassion. He emphasized the betrayal of trust involved in killing a vulnerable child who had believed Yu was there to help. The 51-year-old did not look at the victim's family members as they wept in the courtroom. Kwang Kyung-yu will die in prison. Outside the courthouse, the Cho family's friends said the sentence could never bring back what was lost, but it was the only justice left. 3 innocent people died just because one man couldn't face his own failures. Min Cho, Stephen Cho, their 7-year-old son. They were killed not for anything they had done, but for what they represented to one man. A family that had achieved, through honest work, everything Kwang Kyung-yu could only pretend to have. A routine Taekwondo class, a boy waiting for his mother, a father coming home from work. These ordinary moments became the setting of unthinkable tragedies. The Cho family trusted Master Lion with their son's education and safety, and that trust cost them everything. For the extended family, for the friends and community left behind, the pain will never fully heal. That is all for today. Thanks for watching.